It's a warm Thursday afternoon here in the capital. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse. We come to you live from our studios here at Kokomlimle. We're live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 125, and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up, NPP is bigger than any individual and any party that cannot accept defeat, cannot earn the confidence of the people. Those are words of the former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as he cautions flag-bearer aspirants who have signed a peace pact ahead of the party's primary to remain loyal and uphold party unity above self.
The thirst for power and the unity required to win power must combine to motivate us to choose fraternity over factionalism once the primaries are over.
Have more as the IGP issues a stern warning to flag-bearer aspirants and their supporters against deploying macho men to polling centers to disrupt the electoral process, cautioning that anyone involved will be arrested and dealt with according to law. Plus, we'll tell you what the aspirants have been saying at the signing ceremony that just ended here in Accra at Alisa Hotel. Also this afternoon on the Pulse, 6 more recalcitrant drivers arrested at Odoko as GPRTU task force intensifies its crackdown on illegal operations, entering day 2 amid questions over its legal basis. We have details as the union insists it will not back down until drivers stop exploiting passengers. Also coming up on the Pulse, after years of neglect, commuters and residents along the Pokwasi-Maira Road in the Amasaman constituency are calling on government to fix their terrible roads.
When I'm coming to drive from Pokwasi to this road, I just like, am I in a casket or what?
And later here on the Pulse, we'll tell you how communities are adapting with innovative evidence-based solutions to climate change and extreme weather in our latest JoyNews Climate Evidence series. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Defendro Cough Expectorant, Defendro Breathe Easy, Feel Better. My name is Faustina Safo. As usual, please take a seat and be my guest. Thanks for staying with us here on the Pulse. Well, unity took center stage at the Alita Hotel this afternoon as the Kukudites of the New Patriotic Party gathered to sign a peace pact just 9 days ahead of the party's National Delegates Conference to elect a flag bearer for the 2028 elections. Speaker after speaker, they stressed on the need for the 5 aspirants to remain united regardless of the outcome of the polls. Former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo reminded the gathering that no individual is bigger than the party, urging aspirants to remain loyal and united after the primaries, insisting the NPP must always come first.
The thirst for power and the unity required to win power must combine to motivate us to choose fraternity over factionalism once the primaries are over. Permit me another personal reflection. In 1998, I contested the presidential primaries and came second to John Ajekwu Kufuor, subsequently the second president of the Fourth Republic. When the contest ended, I did not hesitate. I became his chief campaigner. That decision was not about convenience. It was about conviction. The unity we demonstrated then helped deliver the first historic presidential victory of the NPP in 2000. And when years later it became my turn, beginning in 2008, I received the same level of loyalty and support from those who had once competed against me. That tradition of fraternity carried us through difficult moments and enabled us to win and serve Ghana. This is the inheritance we must protect. We should never forget that the ideology of the New Patriotic Party remains deeply attractive to the majority of Ghanaians. Our commitment to individual liberty and the respect for human rights, private enterprise, the rule of law, human development in the society of shared prosperity resonates across this country.
Well, my colleague James Aveji was at that gathering today. He joins me in the studio with more. James, a lot happened today. Let's first start with some of the aspirants and their posture after the signing of the peace pact.
Well, firstly, so what we were looking forward to is to know, before this activities, to know whether all of the candidates will make their way back to Accra, because we know that a number of them are outside Accra undertaking their campaign activities. It was good to know that all of the 5 of them came to witness this. They came, entered the place one after the other. It doesn't look like there's any tension between them, sat beside each other. There was a point after signing the peace pact, they were asked to hold hands to signify unity and also take picture before they make their way out of the place. In fact, you see some of them even holding hands while they leave their seat to take the stage to take the pictures. And so for the mood in the Asante Hall this afternoon, it has been one that has been cordial. It doesn't not indicate what we've been hearing some of them say on the campaign grounds as far as the campaign activities are concerned, which has become major concern for a lot of people, including the leadership of the party. First of all, for this peace pact, the terms are simple. I mean, it's a 5-6 point term, point of reference. The first is for all of them to acknowledge the election process, that it has been transparent and fair to all of them, which is the concern of most of them, as they always accuse the party structure to sometimes be at the back or favoring one candidate or the other. They will respect and accept the outcome of the election, and to also promote peace and unity before, during, and after the election. But most importantly is that they will refrain from comments that would propagate, that would jeopardize peace and outcome, inflame passion in the party. Commit to working towards a united party, even after the election, for a successful 2028 campaign, and also commit to use and subject themselves to the internal dispute resolution mechanisms put together by the party. So, essentially, this is why we all gathered at Alisa today, to get all 5 of them to commit to this going into the last days of the election. And we had the assurance from the party leadership that, in fact, they will not hesitate to enforce this if any of them deviate from this. And so that is generally how the atmosphere has been. Apart from the former president, very, significant party bigwigs were also there, from parliament to other members of the party. For instance, the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, led his colleagues there. The chairman of the Council of Elders, Hakman Osu-Ajiman, was there. The former chief of staff, Rima Oseo-Pari, was also there, together with other members of the party. And
what was your body language? I saw them seated. What could you sense from where you were?
If you look on the TV now, you see Kwabena Ije-Ejepon having a conversation with Dr. Oseya Oeduchum. You see Brian Echampong at one point in time have a word with Kennedy Ejepon. That is how it has been from the start to the end of the exercise. And so it has been cordial. We just hope that what they undertook today, with the messages we'll be hearing subsequently, will compel them to observe peace, unity, and respect for each other as they go into the last days of the election.
And no one engaged, Baumia?
Well, as we are seeing, I don't know the subject of the engagement between them, but from what we are seeing on the screen, it doesn't look like anybody is engaging him. But I want to be sure that this is not a full clip, and so I want to be sure that at one point, okay, you have the Dr. Oseya Oeduchum
engaging him at this
having
point,
a word with him, and so That's how it has been.
Well, I'm concerned about security arrangements because we heard from the IGP issue that warning that he doesn't expect to see any macho men from either camps on that day. So based on the briefing you have, what's the security arrangement?
In fact, that caution is coming from intelligence. He said they have gathered that what they are picking up is that some of the candidates want to mobilize what they call macho men or their personal security to the election ground on the day of the election. But the indication he gives us from top to down is that as we speak, they have thoroughly scanned all of the polling stations across the 300 designated places of election across the country. They will be deploying between 70 to 150 police personnel to every single polling stations in the country, depending on the risk assessment they have done and the level of security threat they've picked. Maximum will be 150, minimum 70 at every single police station. But Boku is a special case as far as this is concerned. We know the situation there. So instead of the police taking lead in maintaining law and order and security at the polling stations, at Boku, they have asked the military to take lead as far as security situations are concerned. The police will supplement whatever the military has deployed. But they have also asked that the military will be on standby across the country for reinforcement in situations where the police will need the military to intervene. And so it is upon that he said that based on the intel they are getting, they want to assure all the 5 candidates that they should entrust their security into the hands of the police and they will make sure they are safe. Therefore, none of them should come to any of the polling stations with their personal security or macho men. If they do and they arrest them, in fact, he said this one particularly or directly to the party leaders that if they arrest anybody on the day of the election, none of them should pick mobile phone and call him IGP to intervene in the situation. So as far as they are concerned, if elections should happen today, the police are on top of the job and they are ready to provide all of the needed security to the election. We can hear from Justin Kodia now, the General Secretary of the party, also pledging the party national executives or the party leadership's support, equal support for each of the 5 candidates ahead of the elections.
As you all know, we are going to a contest. Certainly one of you will emerge, not just as a winner, but to take the mantle of leading us to the greater battle in 2028. But the remaining 4, that shall not be the end of your life. Just as we have seen our revered Council of Elders here, maybe one day we will also become Council of Elders of our great party. That's the beauty of democracy. In our quest to ensure that we have a free, fair, and transparent elections, the National Council constituted what we refer to as the Presidential Elections Committee, chaired by our revered Honorable Joseph Oseus. And I'm happy that all the 5 aspirants, wherever they stand, they have commended the work that has been done by the Presidential Elections Committee. Again, I also commend my colleague national officers. We may have interest, we may have preference, but we have been able to manage ourselves very well so to the extent that none of us has publicly been seen endorsing any of the presidential aspirants. And kudos to our national officers also. Acting Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, for every elections, what every aspirant expects is to see a free, fair, and transparent elections. And indeed, by conduct, at least by the Presidential Elections Committee, we can all attest to it that even in the compilation of the album, which is supposed to be the work of the Presidential Elections Committee, in order to ensure transparency and fairness, our aspirants have been involved from day one in compiling the album for the election, which is to guarantee free and fair election come January 31st.
While the minority leader, Alexander Fayonmakin, called on aspirants to campaign on ideas and vision, not insults, and urged them to accept the verdict of delegates at the end of the process.
The Presidential Elections Committee, the IGP and members of the Police Management Board, members of the Peace Council, presidential aspirants, Council of Elders, national officers, colleague leaders in Parliament, and members of the Minority Caucus, patriots, and members of the media. Let me start off by saying that opposition is painful and lonely. We know this. Good friends don't pick up calls. They ignore us and they find new friends. We are living it. We feel it every day. And surely, none of us wants to remain there. We want power to serve, to transform lives, and to move Ghana forward. But power does not come through division. Power comes through discipline. Power comes through unity. Power comes through sacrifice. Let us therefore rise above anger. Let us rise above insults. Let us rise above short-term emotions for long-term victory. Let us protect the party that has given us voice, purpose, and hope. And when the contest is over, let us close ranks, lock arms, and march forward together, stronger, wiser, and united towards victory 2028. Our future depends on it. Our party depends on it. And Ghana is counting on us.
Flagbearer aspirant Brian Achampong pledged to abide by the Peace Pact, stating that his campaign has avoided name-calling. While expressing confidence in victory, he said he would support the eventual winner if the outcome goes otherwise.
Without more. Absolutely without more. I'm a party person. I sign on to this when we fill the form that we abide by the rules of the game. But this goes beyond the rules of the game. This is what one must do. One, be civil, conduct a decorous campaign, and ensure that you speak to your supporters. But most importantly, when you lose the elections, you support whoever wins the elections. And in this case, I know I'm going to win, and I pray that the others will also come and support me. That is just what you do. It's politics.
The bit that many are concerned about is the call to stay away from inflammable comments and character assassination of your competitors. If I say your competitors, not directly to you, but all of you, the candidates, do we get that assurance that those kind of comments will not come from the Brian Achampong camp?
But we've been on this for 6 months minimum. 6 months we've been on this. I think largely it's been very, very civil. In the last 1.5 weeks, I don't think anything is going to pop out of anybody's mouth that will create any problem for ourselves and for the party. Largely, I expect it to remain so.
Whoever wins will get your support.
I'm going to win, and I pray that I get their support. But in a very unlikely event that anybody else emerges a winner, absolutely, I will support the person.
Well, let's explore this further here on the pulse. Joining me now is political scientist Dr. Sa Asante. I also have with me Dr. Victor Doke. From the security perspective, he will be helping us digest some of the issues that have come up today. We appreciate your time, gentlemen. I'd like to start with Dr. Sa Asante. We just heard from the minority leader, Alexander Fayomakin. Power, according to him, is what the party wants. According to him, opposition is lonely and painful. We've just been seeing the candidates pledge to peace today. Looking at the signing of the Peace Pact, would that even guarantee peace on the day of election and post the election? Doc, you have to unmute for me to hear you clearly. Doc, I'm hoping you can hear me clearly now. I'm just getting your perspective on this. The signing of the Peace Pact, even at the national level, is what all political parties commit to. But internally, is this even a guarantee that candidates will conduct themselves in a way that would ensure peace post the primaries?
Thank you for the opportunity. I think that this type of practice has been with the political parties, so that they, as it were, they want to put them together so that you go into the contest with a sense of unity, so that at the end of the day, whoever wins the election, the rest will congratulate the winner, and those who lose will accept defeat and abide by the rules of the game. That is why they do these things. It is part of the requirement for free and fair election. That in a free and fair election, one of the things you have to do is to, after the contest, if you lose, you accept defeat. If you win, the rest of the competitors will congratulate you and work with you. That is it.
But the signing of the pact, really, does it even help with unity? Especially when we know that post the primaries, there will be a lot of disgruntled members from different camps expressing their frustration to the public, especially the media.
Actually, all these things, if one decides that he will go contrary to what they are signing, what happens? That is a bit difficult. But more often than not, those who break some of these rules are the followers of the candidates. For the candidates, because any attempt to undermine the whole process, you will definitely be smoked out and then punished. So normally those behind them, those who support them, they are those who cause all these the troubles that we see.
And then we've just been hearing from Alexander Feyomarkin. He says opposition is lonely and painful. And in his words, quote, "We want power." That's what the party is looking forward to post the primaries. What do you feel they should prioritize if indeed that desire should be actualized?
Obviously, opposition is painful. But that is where people come from and become rulers of their countries. So if they want to stay away from opposition, then first of all, they must put their acts together and unite. And then this election, we want to see free and fair exercise of franchise without any intimidation, any harassment, and that there is an equal level playing field. The difficulty I have is that a lot of things have happened in terms of their campaign. Their campaign has basically become so toxic. They are at each other's throat and attacking one another. The difficulty I see is that if you look at Brian Champong, Kennedy Japan, and Dr. Baumia, if any say Dr. Baumia wins, would the two be able to campaign for him? If you look at what have gone into the campaign, they have attacked each other, and it's going to be very, very, very difficult. If Kwabena Japan wins, that's a different story. You will have the people supporting him because his campaign has been decorous and without those type of attacks. If you look at Dr. Educhum, his campaign has been a bit civil, so he doesn't. But the three, the attacks have been there. So you wonder whether what they have said against one another, if one of them, the three, wins, are you going to what? The two, are they going to campaign for him? And what is it that they are going to say? Because they've said so many things that are today, they are raw materials for future campaign against them from the opposition angle. So it's something that is difficult for them. But hey, they know how to manage their own affairs. So let's see how it pans out.
But you highlight one important point, that the candidates themselves, the aspirants, they can sign the peace pact. But how then do they ensure that their supporters actually toe the line of peace?
Actually, they have no control over their supporters. They themselves will not want their supporters to even be quiet when there's a need for them to speak out. Yeah. They will pretend to be making sure that they put them under control. But I tell you, without fear of contradiction, that the supporters will not listen. They will do what they want. So it's a difficult thing for the party, but who knows? Maybe they will be able to deal with it. My disappointment is the fact that if prior to this campaign, a body was set up to, as it were, regulate the conduct of people and make sure that nobody engages in, a campaign that is injurious to the party. But I am not seeing that body working because a lot have been said against the competitors. They have said things are against themselves. And I have not seen that body coming out to say, hey, enough is enough, and putting their foot down to right those wrongs. So the days ahead, it's not going to be different from what we have seen. At West, we are going to see more aggressive campaign, more attacks, and the rest of them. And this is the time that the party must be able to put its foot down if you really want to go through this election and come out successfully as one family.
Bring in Dr. Victor Doke at this point in time as we just look at some of the key highlights of the IGP's address at today's Peace Pact signing. He warned against the deployment of macho men from the various camps. But you've been around for a long time. We know how primaries and even elections are conducted. This call, would it be heeded based on your analysis?
Thank you very much, and a Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
I think we have no choice than to heed to the call of the IGP. Why do I say so? Because when you look at it, internal security lies in the hands of the Uganda police. Now, any institution, organization, or political party has that obligation to trust the police. It's like a mandate. You have no choice than to trust the police with regards to ensuring that there is safety, the protection of lives and property. So one thing that these leaders who are hoping to lead a country one day would like to show us all the citizens is for them to respect the rule of law and then adhere to the call of the IGP, not only the IGP, but well-meaning Ghanaians with regards to keeping this process in a very fair and transparent manner. By that, not engaging in not only macho men, but criminal elements, miscreants, okay, to come and then disrupt the process. And that is why it is necessary that the IGP would not relate with regards to deployment, heavy deployment on the ground, to ensure that any threat is kept. And he made a clarion call that whoever is arrested, there should not be calls coming in. And I think this has been part of our politics for a long time, that whenever we see our followers being arrested, and that is when we know we have to pick phones and call. But this time, it should be different, and the IGP has clearly spelled it out. And I know this clarion call is not only for this kind of process, but even the by-elections that lies ahead of us.
The IGP told us today that they have alerted the military to be on standby for reinforcement, and they also tell us that when it comes to areas like Boku, where the security situation there is quite volatile, they'll be deploying the military there. Your thoughts on how this will actually help the elections on that day?
Right, so let me tackle Boku first. It is very essential that the IGP and its PMB have decided to give the military the upper hand with regards to exit, because we know what the military is doing out there with regards to peace and ensuring the two sides do not clash. So they are going to support the military in whatever regard to ensure the process is peaceful, but by and large, it comes to sensitizing and education with regards to the followers, not to foment trouble, but because whoever is arrested to be dealt with. Now, generally, now we take into consideration the fact that the military has always been a very, robust institution when it comes to security and assisting the police when it comes to internal duty. We've known this for a very long time. It is quite recent that the military was not involved in one or two by-elections, and then the police had the upper hand to us. But this case is quite different because this is a very important organization, a political party that also adds to the democracy and governance of this country. So we are looking at the aspect of the military being on standby, which is a very good initiative that has been taken this time, because we cannot neglect our sister security agency when it comes to security. Intelligence would have to go in, interagency intelligence sharing is very key if you have to have factors. One institution cannot do it alone. You need all the institutions coming in. And trust me, the NID, other institutions would also be involved in the background. But these are the two main institutions that would lead the call forward. peace and security and then safeguarding the ballot on that day. So I think it's a very good call. And trust me, the day will come and we'll see the professionalism of this two institutions. And we are hoping the men on the ground will be very professional and then attack any situation that would pose threat, not only to the candidates or their followers, but to this country as a whole.
But based on the security arrangements, at least that we know of, based on what the IGP has told us today, based on your analysis, is there any blind spots we should be looking at that we're ignoring?
Right. So let's look at the ground itself where the process is going to take place. That is where I think the focus should lay more on. Because then you're talking about the election management bodies coming in, bringing the ballots, the voters register and all that. So there's going to be any untoward situation, the focus should be more on that area, and that's the black spot for me. Intelligence would have to be very apt, and the response mechanism very quickly. We should have the task forces also ready to, deal with any kind of situation. I think this is the only black spot that I'm looking at. And by and large, the hierarchy of the political party should be in liaison with the police hierarchy in terms of giving information, even if they pick up, intelligence about, some elements trying to foment problems. And I think once the IGP has put that, I think he forgot to mention that his Black Maria will be around. He has forgotten he should, bring his Black Maria to send a signal that they won't tolerate any kind of disturbance.
Thank you so much, Dr. Victor Doka, as a security analyst. Let me wrap up with Dr. Asante, who joined the conversation earlier. Looking at the security arrangements that we've received briefing from the IGP, at least, that we know will be deployed on that day. What are your thoughts? You've been around for a long time. Despite the security arrangements, sometimes on the ground, things turn out chaotic. Your thoughts on how we can ensure that this works?
I trust the police. They will do a good job. But it's also, there's a duty on the part of the NPP to make sure that the election goes as planned, so that there's no hitch, there's free, fair election, and the whole exercise is conducted in an atmosphere of peace. Once they do that, then one step has been across. Then you are preparing for making sure that you get all the contestants to support the one who has won and campaign effectively. Failure to which you are going to have difficulty in running the campaign and then prosecuting the agenda of winning power. So I think it is incumbent upon them to make sure that nobody brings any macho man, any hoodlum to go and then destroy the whole process. And I'll urge the police to use all the measures that they have under their powers to be able to deal with miscreants who want to, subvert the whole process. I trust the police, and I know that they'll do a good job. But the party should also put its foot down and ensure that the whole process gets from the beginning to finish without any hitch.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asante. He's a political scientist. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. Away from that, the task force of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union has launched another operation at the Odoko area in the Ablekuma North municipality to clamp down on drivers charging unapproved fares and engaging in short-distance operations. The union began the exercise yesterday, arresting 15 drivers at Ablekuma, and has vowed to continue until drivers comply with the relevant laws and regulations. Despite criticism from the ranking member on Parliament's Transport Committee, Kennedy Osei Nyako, and private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, who argued that the operation lacks legal backing, the task force continued its work unabated, arresting 6 drivers at Odoko today. Fatal Bayaga has more in this report.
The GPRTU has continued its operation to arrest more drivers who are engaging in illegal operations. The union has arrested 6 drivers for charging passengers multiple times. According to the National Guards Commander of the GPRTU, Drummond Echo Gazy, he said that they adopted a new strategy in order to arrest these drivers?
6.
You have 6 vehicles. Okay. So what are you going to do to these drivers?
We're sending them to the Odoko police and for the Odoko police to carry on with what they're supposed to do.
But there are some people who are questioning the work that you are doing and saying that it's illegal and all of that. Does that mean you are not going to back down anytime soon?
No, we are not going to back down. It is not illegal. Everybody knows GPRT is in order. They are doing their work. And this is the time that we have to also come out. We have the GPRT union guys. This is the time we also have to come out for them to see that it is not GPRTU who is trying to do that.
You're going to continue from here?
Yeah.
You go to other places?
Tonight we are moving to another area, but we will not disclose it.
Yesterday, about 15 drivers were arrested. Are they in detention or have you discharged them?
We learned they have taken their particulars and they asked them to report today.
For the drivers who have been arrested by the task force, they say that because of high cost of spare parts and the exorbitant sales that the car owners take from them, that is why they've also adopted strategies like the short in order to make more money.
Says Neka on a phone did 2 car no so no and wedding. Yes, I be mu yes 6 million, 5 million. Ne yes ubeko say ubeko 6 trip ubeko wi na diasan.
O man no ya by papa oh boy. Wa beti fuel so. As if the dollars na hwe na ile toto nuam mu no. Wa beti so kra ba one spare part ye nte so.
Men kan say Kromo ba ko faka sebi wo hwe sa 19 year Canada dey si wo kra 4 seats no lowest is cry 400 25 27 say bg 525 to 600 wow yeah 364 no a bg 250 cedis every day bia
because we are police budget 20 10 me say koba o wasa budget the same sika which me 100 cedis nti me konya scan sa scan we me dey come police no tickets for so budget ska until me cost 6 times a day 50 me for 50 Ghana times 6 krana ebe yan ensu bibia ensu fu esika krana me konya ka na sika.
For the GPRTU, this particular operation is going to continue relentlessly to ensure that the arrest drivers who are indisciplined on the road in order to ameliorate the plight of commuters. For JoyNews, Fatao Bayaga, Odoko.
Well, let's explore this further. Join me now is Samuel Amam of GPRTU. He's a member of the communications team. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. I'd like to start with updates. The last time you had an engagement with the Transport Minister, you told us that you'll be having a joint task force. Have you received any backing from the Transport Ministry to aid your work on the ground so far?
All right, so thank you very much. Let me say good afternoon to you and your viewers. Yes, we've not received any support from the Transport Ministry yet. During the last meeting we had with them, he promised that he's going to talk to the local government minister for him to also give a directive to the MMDC task force, likewise the police, so they can grant onto us some support that will help support our task force team. But as I'm speaking to you, we have not received such. So it's only our task force team who are working now.
And did they give you any timeline as to when exactly they'll be giving you some men to help with your work on the ground?
No, actually no, because after our meeting on last Monday, we made them understood that as right from the Greater Accra region, now officers are going to, call its members for them to make sure that the task force will be formed, and therefore just the next day we'll commence our operations. But they didn't tell us as to when to support us with their team.
So far, with your task force on the ground, how many drivers have you at least apprehended and handed over to the police?
Okay, so the first day, that was yesterday, at the Ablekuma Pokwasi stretch, we were able to arrest 15 vehicles. Then we handed them over to the Ablekuma police. Then today also, we did same at Odoko, we were able to have 6 vehicles, and that one too, we handed them over to the Odoko MTTD.
How soon will, I'm sure you've been engaging them, how soon will they be prosecuted?
Come again, please.
I'm sure you've been engaging the police. How soon will these drivers be prosecuted?
Okay, so according to the police, they told us, that is the Ablekuma side, they told us that they have taken their particulars and then they have asked them to fill whatever form that they need to fill for them to be processed. So our duty is to make sure that the drivers are being, arrested and being given to the police. So we are expecting that the police will take them to the appropriate quarters that we think the law will take its course.
And then how sustainable is this? How long will you be doing this raid on the streets?
Oh, we don't have a timeline. All that we want is, you see, we want a sanity on our roads. We want every driver to comply with the driving regulation, our driving regulation. And the LI 2180 regulation 121 says every commercial operator must belong to an existing transport union. And that is our ultimate goal, making sure that all those vehicles that float, those that don't belong to any of the unions, we have come to understand that they are the drivers that are causing all these problems. So all that we want is for them to join the unions, making sure that drivers are complying with the directive. If they are charging the appropriate fares, they are not doing this short before we stop what you are doing.
You have been criticized by a member of the minority in Parliament as well as a legal practitioner. They both say that you lack the legal backing to do what you're doing. How do you respond to those concerns?
We don't lack any legal backing. You see, what is happening is the GPRTU is a recognized transport operators in the country. When this thing happens, okay, the transport minister call on us. Even we are here when the information minister, Honorable Felix Pacho, came out that all these problems are being caused by the GPRTU. And it's the right for the public to make sure that there will be sanity in even if you are civilian and you are in a vehicle and the driver is misbehaving, you have the right to call the attention of the police, making sure that the police will do their work. So all that we want is we have arrested them. We don't have the powers to prosecute them. We don't have the powers to charge them because they don't belong to our union. But we have the powers to hand them over to the police. So I don't know why that MP will say that. We are all trying. This is the problem, that is happening everywhere. And passengers are crying, everyone is crying about what is happening. So we are all trying to make sure that there will be sanity on our roads. So I don't see why he has to come out to say all those things.
So this exercise, there is no timeline to it. Briefly, before I let you go, no timeline. You'll be on the streets for as long as you can.
Yes, there will never be any timeline. And we are not only doing it in the Greater Accra region, although we have started with the Greater Accra region. Subsequently, we'll be moving to the other regions since we cover all the 16 regions.
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel Amwa. He is Deputy Public Relations Officer for GPRT. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. Well, still on our roads, it won't be the first time drivers, commuters and residents are complaining about the terrible state of the Pokwase-Maira Road in the Gan West municipality of the Greater Accra region. Over the years, they have been forced to endure hazardous conditions with deep potholes and uneven surfaces that make daily travel difficult. Now they say their patience is running out and they are calling on government to address their concerns. In our feature series, Roads of Peril, my colleague Pearl Ofori visited the area and filed this report.
Yes, also near Yinina, kind of bubu. So when you na Simua, na affect waste, we see ya.
When I'm coming to drive from Pokwasi to this road, I just like, am I in a casket or what?
With a shovel in his hand, Kortetete takes matters into his own hands, manually filling potholes along the Maira stretch to make the road more trouble for commuters. He works in front of the Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Directorate, an agency under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, what the locals here call Agric.
4 years now. I'm doing this work. I did this road top. Especially if you do way the rate fall like this, then everything is well. Everything is well. If you go, yes, is small. So if you go from there, that place there is too much.
A few meters away, I meet Akwesi Ampedu, a taxi driver who sold his first car as scrap metal after using it on the road for only 2 years. Akwesi managed to raise extra funds to purchase a second car. And what is sad, he has no choice than to drive on the same bad road in order to make ends meet. Today, he has stopped at a vulcanizer after his tire suffered a puncture.
Ekwano boy kapa e free main station what ko kan adusa ekwan ni nyina enye woto shows wa any 2 weeks na say board joint any 2 weeks na say eti ama adwuma na say wo ya na wasan de sika ni nyina ahyeka anim eti ama ehaya ha say papa eti say no an company for MY na ka kwan no omuntimi enhwe mayen Abribia na mpanifo na echire mu se ewo assembly hall mu se kwan no omo aye ba se wo de car no so efa kwan no so a yenye ba bia ye ensuo to a etimi yima se ewura wo car mu enti kwan no kurani ehaye papa due to the bad road even I get a problem of my shocks.
For Nana Yao at Bevo, every trip comes at a cost. The Okada rider says the damaged road not only makes an already risky job even more dangerous, but also drives up repair costs for his motorbike.
I'm from Volta region, but I've been here for almost 2 years that I've been using this road. But due to the bad road condition, it has been affecting my motorbike. I'm a Okada rider. So even you can imagine, this morning, my motorbike has spoiled. So we are begging the government to at least helping us to, construct the road.
Frustrated residents like Owusu Benjamin say they have reached a breaking point.
But looking at the nature of this road, at times I look at it when I'm coming to drive from Pokwasi to this road, I just like, am I in a casket or what? I use about 1 hour to reach my house, which is undesirable. When we came here, we were using less than 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes because it was not motorable. But we're using less than. But now it's like 1 hour before you get to your workplace. So I have to wake up early, come to site, come and watch over my people before I go back to Accra. And look at the time I have to wake up, 3 o'clock. By 5 o'clock, I'll be in Pokwasi. From Medusa to this, almost 2 hours. Why? This is a terrible road. The government wonder why it's allowing this thing to happen. We're paying road tax, we're paying all sorts of taxes, we are doing everything together, but they are denying us simple access to this good road. They don't want to tie it, they don't want to do any construction about it, and it's a hell for us for the past almost 10 years. And my car like this, I have to buy shocks for almost every month. I have to go to the workshop. Currently, I'm standing in front of a workshop and I have to do my shocks, my bushings and stuff. It's really killing us. Our financials are going down. This month is even a month that we are paying our school fees. And it has a toll on us. It has a burden upon us. Government, President Mahama, this road, we beg you. Pokwasi to Maira, to Edusa, we beg you. Come to our aid. This year is a year of what? A big push for road construction. Come into it. Consider this road in the Ganov district. We are pleading on you, Mr. President, to help us construct this road because it's a good road that links us to Kwabenya, Brekusu, Kitase, and it's a shorter route than even going through all the way to some other parts. So we're pleading with the government to come to our aid and then everything will be nice. Other than that, we are dying.
From Mayura Junction through Afiaman all the way to the Mayura Township is a journey that should take you about 5 minutes. But the bad nature of this road means the drivers will have to spend more than 30 minutes plying this same route. And when it rains, this is how bad it gets. Further down the road, all the way to Edusakotes, the situation gets even worse. Vehicles drive through pools of water, splashing with every wheel turn. Ali Sumaila, a driver who has lived here for more than a decade, knows the challenges of traveling on this route all too well. He says residents who have built houses in the vicinity are reluctant to move in.
Inti had a problem wa hapa. Ya wankrofo mo sisi adan wa because of kwan nti. Omo ntumi ma. Inti ye bere wa hapa.
Kwame Osei, another driver familiar with this terrain, transports goods from the capital Accra to Afiaman. He says risk is a passenger on every trip.
From Kwame Osei. Me driver ni na me phone mo fra Accra de ba Afiaman. Na I cannot say so many years. Bi nkofo bi tumi yare kura kan ma obi nko bi ma nso to kura dia ene na highways eti we de extra ban na omo na ne kakra no hwe ana ye so so ne yi ni nyina kana se bubububu ebi kura tumi se si kwam je wa to yin kana ba betu akọ eti we de extra ni pi omo na boy kakra.
Along the same stretch, shop owners like Hannah Jimfua are struggling to keep their businesses running.
Mitonton paboa e wo kwan ho. Mpa eje se me hye ye mpaboa no nyina ho rubbish. Ene sa emfata. Wo be ko fie no wo yare wo mu. Especially say tipper trucks no e twemu a edi mfutro bebre nti amakwan na ye host nko a nti like se wonyem na se wutisi mu a na affect waste usisi nyina ya wo ya nti esa ade be chan wo bebe adwuma no sorry kra enyeye nti yesem se mayra kwan na ache ya pamocho momra na momeyema ya momra na momeyema ye wa yesremo.
With more than a dozen vehicles breaking down on this road every week, residents and drivers say their complaints have gone unanswered for years. For now, the burden of the damaged road falls squarely on those who use it every day. And it remains to be seen how long they will have to wait before the road is finally tarred. For JoyNews, I am Pearl Ufuri.
You're still watching The Pulse. When we return from this quick 10, we'll tell you about our new project here at JoyNews, Climate Evidence. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Well, this afternoon, climate change is no longer a distant threat. Across Ghana, communities are already adapting, finding innovative ways to cope with floods, drought, extreme heat, and unpredictable weather patterns. Over the next 3 months, here at JoyNews, we bring you Climate Evidence, a special series of research-based news features highlighting real people, real solutions, and real evidence of climate adaptation in action. These stories will run across all our platforms here at JoyNews starting this month. We'll be back to have a conversation on that, but please watch this.
harsh reality whenever the dam spills.
Ene yetim untimi nkase wo kɔ baabi fufuro ye tue sika so ne ata asase no so ena nya me nko aso na mete ha edom ka ho se ye wo nko ade na obaka situation na wo mu ni ntie bia wo kɔ back to baby a wo free buy e bia first kra na wo rented house ene bia wa abaji wo plot na wo si wo ye bibi kakra na aba ne sa wo ye ho bibi a enye ye.
But managers of the Wager Dam insist the spillage, though disruptive, is unavoidable. The public relations officer of the Ghana Water Limited, Stanley Marty, explains that the annual controlled release is a critical safety measure to protect the dam from structural failure.
That if we do not spill the excess water from the dam and there's a dam break, the repercussions will be more disastrous than when we are spilling.
Samson is not alone in facing this dilemma. Gideon Yeboah, who lives in the community with his wife and 2 children, says his child misses school for weeks, not because of financial difficulties, but because floodwaters make their home inaccessible. For Gideon, relocating is not an option. The land, he says, was acquired by his father, and protecting it is a responsibility he must uphold.
Mu bi ensuo na nkwala ne ntumi nko school bi wa me ba na ofia kosi week na ensuo ne betwe no oh ha na de me father na beto asase no 7 plots nti onya beto wi na wo kase utu nsuo asase ne da ho obi beba befa.
However, emergency officials say such attachments are making disaster response increasingly difficult. The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, has attributed the severity of recent spillages to climate change. Officials say changing rainfall patterns have caused the Wager Dam to reach full capacity much earlier than expected in the past 2 years, forcing more intense spillages and complicating evacuation efforts due to continuous human settlements around the dam.
Climate change is a phenomenon that has come to be acknowledged worldwide, and the extremes, that is too much water, too much dryness, and then sometimes heat, extreme heat, are causes of concern for us, because too much water then causes the floods that we deal with. The lack of it will also bring about a drought.
For some residents, the floods leave no room for attachment or choice. Abdullah Ayamdago, a commercial motorbike rider who has lived in the community for close to 5 years, says worsening conditions have forced him to temporarily relocate to protect his life and property.
When they opened the dam, they enter inside my room and spoil my things. My dresses all was wet, and that's why I decided to live here.
In response to calls for better management, authorities say solutions must go beyond emergency relief. The Ghana Water Limited maintains that while the Wager Dam spillage is unavoidable, stricter enforcement of land use regulations remains key to reducing the impact on communities downstream.
For us as Ghana Water Company Limited, we can only appeal to them. But for those who are in charge of enforcing the law, I don't think they should act as Ghana Water will. They should get onto the ground and ensure that people who are built in unauthorized places are clearly cleared from that area or evacuated, and all structures demolished.
For the residents of Tetegu, the waters may eventually recede, but the broader challenge remains. As climate change intensifies and urban encroachment continues, the balance between safeguarding critical national infrastructure and protecting vulnerable communities grows increasingly fragile. Until long-term solutions are enforced, life along the banks of the Wager Dam will remain a cycle of fear, loss, and resilience. Grace, Aqua, and Ramat Bashiru's report. This story is brought to you by JoyNews in partnership with CDKN Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R41 Opportunities Fund.
Well, join me in the studio now as we explore this further is our partners, Dr. Prince Ansah, his country lead for CDKN Ghana. I also have Dr. Yao Ajiman Boafo. He's a senior research fellow, Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies at the University of Ghana, Legon. I also have joined the conversation Dr. Aidatu Abubakar. She's a research fellow at the University of Ghana, Legon, joined via Zoom. I have with me MFA Ewanam Echiamwa Eli. She's lead for strategic partnership and projects at Joy Brands at the Multimedia Group. I also have Grace O'Donovan. She's programs manager for Claire R4I Opportunities Fund, South North. She's joining live from South Africa. We appreciate your time here on the pulse, and of course our reporters, they are on the ground. They have received training to carry out this project. I have joining the conversation via Zoom Kofi Edu Domfrey. He's head of climate and environment desk here at JoyNews. I appreciate your time. And also Mahmoud Nuruddin, Shanti regional correspondent. I appreciate your time here on the pulse. Quite a packed team I have. I'd like to start with MFA. Why exactly are we embarking on this, and what are we seeking to achieve?
Thank you so much for having me, Faustina, and we appreciate the effort in putting this together. Yes, climate change. You know, we have been leading the conversation around climate change as well as reporting when it comes to media and journalism in Ghana. So this is the newest content on the blog. And this is going to be in our daily bulletins, that's radio, TV, online, as well as on all our social media platforms. What should we expect? Over the last couple of months or even years, we have done a number of climate change stories. The focus of these stories have largely been complaints. We're trying to spotlight the harsh realities of climate change on individuals and the very local people. Question is, what is their way out of all these problems, these situations they find themselves in? Often we haven't highlighted that enough. And on these beats, we are bringing stories that will enable these same people who are suffering the effects of climate change get to know their way out, what they can do. The focus mainly is about intervention, is about, yes, we'll tell about the problem, what the issue is. But most importantly, we want to give hope. It's not as bleak as we always hear in the media when you talk about climate change. That is not to say we are denying the fact. It is there though, but aren't we doing anything? Yes, people are doing a lot, but to what extent have we highlighted these interventions? So this set of pieces is meant to bring hope to all our listeners, all our followers, all our viewers across all our platforms, all our online news readers. We want you to know that, yes, we have climate change, but there's also something that you and I can do to reduce the impact and also to celebrate the individuals who are leading these local interventions, these adaptation measures to make life better and wherever they are. And regarding these stories too, it is not just about JoyNews. We are working with a lot of affiliates. Okay, so beyond we telling the stories at JoyNews, you have our affiliates also telling these same stories in the very local languages in which the ordinary people around them can understand, or their everyday listeners or viewers can understand. Why is that possible? The reporters who are producing these stories live among these people. They work with them, they know them. So it is not about we always only transmitting or communicating in English, but we want to be able to reach to the very grassroots people who are most affected anytime we talk about climate change. So for the next couple of months on JoyNews, on Joy FM, myjoyonline.com, all our social media platforms, anytime you see anything about climate change, you should look out for what we call climate evidence. That should bring you the difference. Yes, people are talking about climate change on other platforms, but here at JoyNews, in the next couple of months, at least until March 2026, we are going to be bringing you a lot more of these stories covering energy, covering migration, covering health, covering biodiversity, and anything else, flood, anything else you can think of when anyone mentions climate change. So that's it for this series of climate evidence that we are bringing to you and our viewers across the board.
Thank you so much, MFR. Well, in the studio with me have Dr. Yao Ajiman-Boafo. I also have with me one key individual, Dr. Prince Ansa, to join the conversation as well in the studio. They're both with me in the studio, and I appreciate your time here in the studio. I also have a packed team on Zoom, so we'll be coming to you when we can. But I'd like to start with Dr. Prince, really. Why is research critical when it comes to storytelling and telling a story about climate change?
Thank you so much, Faustina. So research is very important because research, presents the facts behind the stories. Storytelling is a way where you invoke the emotions of people to be able to accept, a situation. And it's always important that people, when emotions are invoked, it also comes along with the facts so that people get a balanced and credible information. And that is why climate evidence series or stories are going to be very important. So it's not just, as Emefa rightly said, not just telling about the barriers or the climate change, the difficulty it's creating, but also presenting, the case that communities on the ground are doing amazing things to which, it's important to replicate elsewhere in different communities or to bring it to board for others to see and seeing that it's climate change conversation is not just about the problems, but also communities, individuals, institutions are actually doing amazing things on the ground to be able to bring this, climate crisis, to a good, situation as we have it now.
And why is it important even for policymakers to engage with some of this evidence-based kind of stories when it comes to the formulation of policies?
Yes. So policymakers, play a very critical role, as we all know, in our development. However, policies are supposed to go alongside with evidence on the ground so that it's not just producing, stories because it's popular demand, but is that popular demand backed by, scientific evidence that is replicable, that can last for a very long time in what we call can it stand the test of time in terms of climate resilient, futures, right? So evidence-based climate reporting, like what we are going to do, is going to actually bring out the key issues that communities have tested and is working on the ground, and researchers have diagnosed it and verified that these solutions are actually working, and therefore, based on that, policymakers can have confidence that when they are investing in those type of solutions, they are investing in a long-term solutions that will not erode, and that also contributes to sustainable development for a long term.
Let me come to you, Dr. Yao. Why is it important for us to prioritize evidence-based reporting, especially when it comes to climate change?
All right, thank you very much, Faustina. As my colleague Prince has highlighted, because we are in a time when there's a lot of what I call information availability or access to information, people can just get up and say something without any proof of evidence. So through research, and like I never highlighted in the beginning, some of us have been involved with research on climate change for quite a while now. And we have evidence based on science, based on community experience, and then also based on data that we've collected. So that data, even though we publish them in peer review articles, sometimes the data doesn't get to the people who are actually being impacted the most. So our research data that we have more or less brings a backbone to much of the data. And that's where we bring in the journalists, okay? Because our data sits there, but sometimes people don't have access. So we have data that is validated, that is accurate, that can be used to make decisions. And so much of the time, we researchers, have the chance to work with journalists. And our researchers then gets to the communities, then people begin to make decisions. So for instance, in Accra, lately, people say, oh, it's getting hotter and hotter every day. And people say that all the time. It is true, But there's also the science to it. The science shows that, yes, temperatures are rising on a daily basis. So for us, we bring that data to the foreground to let people know about it, so that when a journalist is reporting the data, he's not just saying, oh, Madam A said there's heat, so that's it. We have the data to back that through a lot of analysis. And then it becomes very verifiable and good enough for anybody who wants to use it. So researchers and journalists become important tools for disseminating this important information on climate change.
And how will that even ensure accuracy? Because another leg of the problem emerges when it comes to getting accurate information about research. Where do we go to? Who do we speak to? How are we sure what is published online is accurate?
Yeah. So then, again, this is where the collaboration comes in, because before a researcher publishes a data or comes out with data, by virtue of what we do, we're supposed to ensure that the data that we have is very accurate and also comes from a source. So if you look at some of the published work of researchers, there's always a source to the information so that people who read it can make reference to it. And so the collaboration between researchers like myself and Prince and many others all across the country allows whatever that is put out there by the journalists to be accurate, to be evidence-based. And so the idea of climate evidence, we understand that, yes, climate change is occurring, but the reports that we are getting out there, are they based on evidence? And that's how come the idea of collaborating with researchers from universities and other universities around the world became important. So I think there's a lot of evidence from the research angle, because we are using that based on, so for instance, data from GMET becomes part of what we do. Some of the projections that we do on climate change across the country is based on GMET data and also based on internationally acceptable data. So I think that with researchers and journalists combining, it allows for verifiable information to be put out there.
Stay with me. Let me bring in Grace O'Donovan. She's Programs Manager for Claire R4I Opportunities Fund from South North, to join us live from South Africa. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. I'm wondering what inspired you to decide to be part of this project.
Thanks so much for having me today. So South North, we're the Research for Impact hub of the CLARE program, and the Opportunities Fund really does work with projects that draws on existing evidence and applies that knowledge to long-term outcomes that are sustainable and beneficial for the people who need them most. And really, for us, it's important to invest in evidence-based climate storytelling because it bridges the gap between, science, policy, and lived experience. And as Prince was saying, this really helps policymakers and their partners make decisions that strengthen the adaptation and resilience of people on the ground and in ways that work for them. And so sharing this evidence through storytelling helps us strengthen the capacity of researchers and journalists to collaborate on spotlighting existing climate evidence across sectors that can enhance public awareness and action. And from the program's perspective, this kind of work being done by CLARE is really critical for research uptake and strengthening that climate resilience in vulnerable communities, making climate risks understandable, building trust and centering local knowledge and lived experience and motivating action and not just awareness. As Prince was saying, stories connect climate impacts to values that we already care about, such as health and livelihoods, and it shows us feasible adaptation pathways, not just risks. Whether it improves policy and investment decisions and supporting equity and climate justice. And so evidence-based storytelling from the CLARE perspective is essential for communities in Ghana and globally to adapt to climate change impacts. And so investing in this really enables informed decisions and turns knowledge into resilience where it matters most on the ground.
And from a donor perspective, really, what outcomes are you hoping to see from this collaboration?
Yeah, so for this project, our main goals really are to bring journalists and researchers into conversation, which is extremely unique. And as you've heard, the project links existing evidence from researchers with policy needs and brings this to media channels from journalists across the country, especially in the most vulnerable regions. And so thinking long term, this makes it possible for climate change reporting to lead to resilience building across the country, to communicate the lived experiences of those impacted by climate risk and provide context-specific evidence-based narratives that resonate with readers. Ultimately, these stories share what we can do to empower local communities and inspire action. And, a sort of broader long-term goal of impact is that we also want to enhance awareness about critical climate challenges and potential adaptation solutions. It can support the implementations of policies like the national adaptation plans and the nationally determined contributions. And both of these policies are really important because they outline Ghana's strategic roadmap and commitments to building resilience against climate impacts and integrating adaptation into policy. So our goals with this project are really to, by amplifying the voices and perspectives and strategies that local communities are using to adapt, projects like ours and this one can bring local African knowledge into global conversations about adaptation and resilience that really, serve to inform long-term, sustainable and context-driven outcomes.
Thank you so much, Grace. Let me bring in now Dr. Aidatu Abubakar. She is a research fellow at the University of Ghana, Legon. I appreciate your time here on The Pulse. Now, based on your background as a researcher, what gap will this be bridging based on this collaboration?
Thank you very much. I think this exercise is very important because, one, policymakers sometimes do not really understand what is happening on the ground, what is happening at the grassroots. This activity, we are able to get the local voices, get what research is saying, evidence from research, and this would help policymakers make informed decisions when it comes to adaptation and resilience. And over the years, there has been this gap where academics do their research, journalists are also working elsewhere, and then the locals, the researchers would mostly go to them for data. And how to bring these three groups together, because it seems everyone is working, we are all working in silos. So bringing these groups together, the locals, the researchers, the journalists, to be able to disseminate research findings in formats that people at the grassroots level can consume is very important. That's the gap I think this exercise will reach, because everyone gets to understand. Most of the stories are based on research, and if not for this exercise, it will be hanging on the shelves or it will be behind the paywalls of journals. But with this exercise, these stories comes to the forefront and everyone gets to know what's happening on the ground in here in Ghana.
And climate change is a broad topic. You will agree with me, Doc. Thank you so much, Dr. Aidatu. You agree with me that it's quite broad. And so when it comes to research, there are different angles to explore. What should we expect in the coming days with this project?
All right, thank you so much. So when we were putting together this project, one of the key things that we thought about is that there are various sectors that is impacted by climate change, and at the same time, people are also building solutions on the ground for. Example is stories on biodiversity, migration, water resources, stories that cut across disaster risk management, agriculture. So we have almost about 7 sectorial areas that the stories will focus on in terms of resilience building, in terms of how communities are mobilizing to be able to solve real issues on the ground, whether it has to do with droughts, erratic rainfall, flooding, how people are coming together to be able to address some of these key issues. So definitely there's varieties of stories that you are going to find from here, and they are all evidence backed to be able to get the stories out.
And I'll come back to Dr. Yao for your final words, but my colleague is on Zoom, Dr. Kofi Edu Domfre, I beg your pardon, and Mohammed Nuruddin joining the conversation as well. What should we expect? You had the climate and environment desk here at JoyNews. I'll start with Kofi Edu Domfre. What should we expect in the coming days?
Thank you, sis. Well, for me, I think the realities of climate change are already evident as long established by science. This is why the subject of climate change has really become everyone's business. And this phenomena, we all know, affects every facet of life. What this means is that we should all begin to heed to the evidence from the researchers to influence policy, most essentially, also address the issues of adaptation and mitigation, and in building resilience, also explore the opportunities for job creation, especially for young people in areas of recycling and other innovations. This is why I'm very excited about this climate evidence initiative that entails the qualitative reporting that we will be sharing across media platforms, radio, TV, online. And we want to move research, as Dr. Aidatu just mentioned, from the shelves and the specialized journals to the very doorstep of our audience to influence policy change. So for me, what's important is to make it all sexy in our reportage for everyone to appreciate the realities of climate change as we face it today.
And Kofi, I'm looking forward to that sexy report. Mohammed Nuruddin, you're also with us here. You've been trained for this, so what should we expect with your storytelling approach moving forward?
Yeah, I think that it was very important because when you look at the fact that this is geared towards solution journalism, where we are expected to balance the news. You know, traditional journalism is often focused on, failures, crisis, among others. But this specifically is to look at the solutions available for people to be able to adapt or mitigate the shattering effects of climate change. And I was very excited because of, mostly we use terminologies in this kind of reporting. Some people would say that climate change is a very complex area, and therefore to report effectively, you need to understand the terms. And then during the training, they were able to take participants or journalists through how we could break down these terms to the understanding of the ordinary people out there. And I'm sure that the stories that we have produced will really gonna educate the public and also provide simple solution to the problems that they face in their various communities.
Thank you so much, Mohammed Nuruddin. Let me wrap up with Dr. Yao. Your final words as we wrap up the conversation.
All right, so I would say that good climate journalism begins with good science. And that's what I think this project has been able to do, because there's a period of trying to get very good, what I call quality data, as well as researchers to work with the journalists. So by giving this opportunity for us to work together, we are hoping that we can bridge that gap, at the same time continue to bring stories out to the everyday person to make decisions for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And MFR, what should we expect in the coming days?
A lot, Fosti. You should expect a lot. And for me, I'm excited. I heard Nuruddin talking about their ability to be able to break down the language for the consumption of the ordinary viewer and listener, which is exciting. And also to the fact that, these journalists are not sitting in any corner somewhere and doing their own things. Right from the word go, from concept, from development, field work, they are in touch with these researchers. And so that should let you know the quality of work that would be shown or will be broadcasting on all the platforms that we'll be working with. And I would want to assure our audiences across the platforms we work on that they shouldn't expect anything less. I'd also like to use this opportunity to say a big thank you to the partners, the University of Ghana, C3SS, Dr. Yao Ajiman-Boafo and his team, to Dr. Prince Ansah and his team at CDKN. Also, a big thank you to our key partner and funder, Claire R4I Opportunities Fund. It's very difficult for a newsroom on an ordinary day to want to travel to the hinterlands to bring quality stories with the aim of highlighting the issues of the ordinary Ghanaian, the grassroots person. It's very difficult and expensive. And so if you have people coming together like this to want to work together to achieve a common cause, I think it's worth our time, and we are happy. We want to put all our effort in this and make it great. It's not the everyday stories. Trust you, it's not the everyday stories. These are fact-based stories, research stories, and you can trust JoyNews journalists to give you the best any day, anywhere, in any of our platforms: radio, TV, online, and social media.
Thank you so much, MFI, and I'm looking forward to it. Once you're involved, I'm sure it's going to be great. I appreciate your time here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, environmental advocates are stepping up pressure on government for the creation of a National Biodiversity Restoration Fund to confront Ghana's rapidly shrinking forest cover and escalating land degradation driven by illegal mining. There's more on the following report by my colleague Carlos Scaloni.
This is the scar left on Ghana's once fertile landscape. Recent Forestry Commission data indicate that about 44% of Ghana's 288 forest reserves have been destroyed, and an estimated 5,252 hectares of forest land desecrated. Jaman-Kwanta's once productive farmlands and forest ecosystems was not spared. The once fertile land has been reduced to craters, pits, and poisoned soils by the operations of illegal miners, including operations by a one-time Galamsey queenpin, Aisha Juan. Here at Jaman-Kwanta, livelihoods were wiped out, water bodies contaminated, and entire communities exposed to environmental and public health dangers. What should have been bread baskets became death traps. But today, the story is changing. In a decisive intervention, President John Dramani Mahama's administration has rolled out an aggressive ecological restoration and land remediation program to restore degraded lands across the country, beginning with a pilot in the West Heat communities in the Amansia Central District of the Ashanti region. The pilot project being executed by Logis Group Limited is already restoring devastated lands in Jaman-Kwanta, Sukumu, Pipo-Tintin, and surrounding communities. According to the Chief Executive Officer of Logis Group, Daniel Tamaklo, over 200 hectares have already been reclaimed.
So far, we've done over 200 hectares. We've reclaimed over 200 hectares. And this place was very degraded. This was an area Aisha One wet. And I think for the past 8 years, here has been very degraded. And Logis, together with the government, Logis in collaboration with the government, has taken up this initiative to reclaim this land. We are looking at reclaiming over 5,000 hectares of land.
But this is not just about filling pits and leveling land. This is about ecosystem regeneration, soil rehabilitation, and climate resilience. Daniel Tamaklo explains that the projects integrate economic tree planting, agroforestry systems, and biodiversity restoration to ensure long-term sustainability.
Once reclamation is done, we will bring the land back to its natural state. That's naturalization of the land by planting energetic crops to extract the heavy metals from the soil.
To support the large-scale reforestation drive, Logis Group Limited is establishing over 10 acres of tree nurseries at strategic locations across the Amansia Central District, aimed at producing seedlings to feed a massive landscape restoration program. The project contractor, Opoku Jangbena James, outlines the full scope of the works.
This whole project is for Logis, and it's 10 acres project. For this first thing that you see here is 1 acre that we are doing a greenhouse for seedlings, for palm plantation, coconut, and so many. This alone is going to give us about 9 million seedlings per every 3 months. And we are supposed to construct about almost 5 of them here. And when you look back here, you can see this is a dam that we are constructing here. This is 1 acre dam. 1 acre dam. That you can see there is a drilling machine there. We are not going to use any stream water. We are drilling our own water. After that, we are going to line the whole dam. And the whole project dam is like aquaculture. we are going to put in fish, catfish, just to support the project that we are doing.
Beyond the environmental gains, the project is aimed at delivering powerful socio-economic dividend by creating jobs, restoring dignity, and providing alternative livelihoods to youth who would otherwise be drawn into illegal mining.
These energetic crops will be used in manufacturing biowood. So this it will be harvested every 3 months. So in a year, we are looking at harvesting it 4 times. And we are looking at employing over 1,500 workers for this initiative. So we have a chain of employment and chain of economic activities that will take place. So we end up preserving our forests. Our forests wouldn't be touched. And this will help government benefit from this carbon score, carbon credits.
The Minerals Development Fund is a key partner in the initiative. Ashanti Regional Manager Ralph Edri-Kweno believes the project is already pulling young people away from the grip of galamsey.
The main objective of this project is to create livelihood, employment for villages and towns that have been affected by illegal mining activities. We make sure that they will stop the illegal mining so that they'll have another alternative, which is the livelihood they are currently having as a job, which they will also be getting money at the end of the month, so that they will not go back to illegal mining activities.
Environmental experts say this initiative could mark a turning point in Ghana's fight against land degradation. Climate and environmental remediation expert Dr. Samuel Doche describes the project as a game changer that positions Ghana to benefit from carbon market, ecosystem services, and climate finance.
The first benefit will be those people who find themselves around the Amansi district. Their health is going to be improved or restored. For that matter, their frequency or their going to hospitals will be reduced. So that is saving Ghana so much money. That is one. Secondly, see, whether we agree or not, trees are values now. They provide source for carbon, because Ghana is now aggressively pursuing the carbon market opportunities. So for me, I think these guys should be credited for what they are doing.
A biodiversity researcher, Nwemeji Dramado, is urging government to scale up support, describing the initiative as critical to forest recovery, habitat restoration, and species protection.
His Excellency, Mr. President, I believe that this is the opportune time to support such an initiative that will help restore an environment, because with the way degradation is going on in the country, I fear that there will be a time where as a nation we cannot be able to say that we are a biodiversity rich country. Otherwise, it means that we'll be seeing degraded lands everywhere. So the case of Ghana is a biodiversity rich country will become a matter of old. But by supporting an initiative such as these, we get to conserve what we already have, and in restoring the degraded areas, we still have an avenue to pursue economic development without tampering with that which we already benefit from. Since this group are on this fantastic project from their own pockets, they do not only need to be commended as individuals or as a group, but supported.
Dr. Doche further calls for the immediate establishment of a national biodiversity restoration fund to sustain and expand reclamation efforts across the country.
I will encourage the president to take the opportunity to establish a national biodiversity fund to support initiatives of this nature.
Traditional authorities in Jamankwanta have also welcomed the project, describing it as a lifeline for their people.
Omampani John Mama said, Jumedi na odi abahano, omanu ya jene feso. Na omwa na farmers nso odi bahano so na kwedwuma na odi bahano, omwa na kwedwuma no enkoso. Ni enso aye wahano a yinyina nya abanya dwuma no bi enye.
For communities long trapped between poverty and environmental destruction, this project represents hope. Hope for clean water, hope for fertile land, and hope for a future beyond Galamsey.
When we came up with this idea, they embraced it and by giving us the support, especially from the Lands Ministry, asking us to pilot this project with support from EPA and various government agencies. This is sustainable. So if someone says it's not sustainable, we are on the field, we've tried it and it's working. So it's about we coming, having a roundtable discussion, having a roundtable discussion and putting policies together, putting minds together, and we can achieve this objective.
As Ghana grapples with one of the worst land degradation crises in its history, the Reclaim, Restore, Rebuild initiative is emerging as a bold experiment in environmental healing, climate action, and sustainable development. If successful, it could become the blueprint for restoring thousands of hectares of degraded land nationwide and, finally, turning the tide against the scourge of illegal mining.
Well, I'm standing right here in Jaman Kwanta, one of the sites being reclaimed by Logist Group, and which forms part of the 200 hectares of land that they've reclaimed so far. And as you can see at the background, work is ongoing. The objective is to bring back livelihood to the people in this particular community. Reporting from Jaman Kwanta in the Amansia Central District of the Ashanti region, my name is Carlos Kaloni for JoyNews.
And back here in Accra, you know that the rains are coming soon, right? And we want you to be prepared. And that's why Easy Paint is in this studio. Today we have a conversation with Zenobia Opoku-Dakwa. She's Sales and Marketing Manager for Easy Paints. By now you know her because she's always here in the studio. Well, today we're focusing on our roofs and what we should do, especially now that we know the raining season is almost coming very soon. We should be prepared. How is Easy Paint helping us throughout this process?
Good. Thank you so much, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers. So when we start the building, the first place we look out for is the roof. That gives you a shelter that you're safe and comfortable to know I'm in a home. So if your roof has a problem, we are blessed. I was very happy when I was listening to the doctor's talk on the climate change. We saw for once that in December and in January we haven't rains, which are quite rare.
Very rare.
So these are the times that you get to see or you get to know the problems you have with your roofs. You don't normally see the problems on the roofs unless it starts raining. So when you look at this video that is playing, this is a typical old looking roof. And it's raining on it. You see where those lines are. You've seen that it's like it's been raised.
Okay.
So these are the places where the rains get into, and then they start giving you this coloring inside your rooms. And you don't see them. They start in a very, minute way till you see that they are spreading out so bad and it becomes so ugly. Then the rains start getting into your rooms. These roofs, someone will tell you that, with this one, the only solution will be to just discard it and then do a new roof. But you don't have to. As it's raining like this, all you need to do is just to clean. Get up there, get some hard brushes and soap, clean the dust or the dirt from there, and then you apply the Easy Waterproof paint. Now, we have some of the homes that have also the concrete roof ends, the ones we call the floors. That also, you go on top of it most of the times, and you see that there are some cracks in them there. You see that...
Should we be worried when we see cracks weaving through the walls of
we should be very worried, because these are the cracks that, if unattended to, bring in all the problems we have in the homes. And once you see the crackings in the roof, you would have to start applying the Easy Waterproof paint there. I tell people that we didn't just make this paint just as a primer for the homes, but once you're using it as a primer for your home, you're also using it for all the problems in the home. That is why we work with the roofs, we work with the walls, we work with the floors. These are the things that hold the homes. So this is another roof that you're watching.
This is more modern.
These are the modern ones. And then you would ask, why do you have to paint a modern roof? So what these do, these ones are also arranged. And once they are arranged, you have, some spaces in there that you cannot see because you didn't go up there when they were being done. So once we advise that once they do this new roofings here, we give you the same color of your roofing with the easy waterproof paint. You paint it, then you prevent any problems that would have happened without the easy paint waterproof being applied on it. The reason why I always tell people that you don't need to have a new or an old roof before you apply the easy waterproof paint is once it's applied on every roof, all we need is that the surface has to be cleaned. Once it's clean and is applied, it will stop every rain or every water or any dust that would have come from top of the house. So you get it stopped. Then you get these people who have done nice POPs, but because
you could see like some very funny stain.
Very funny.
Through it, and as though there are molds coming out of it.
Some are very scary. We go to homes and you see that virtually the whole POP is coming down because the rains have stained the entire ceiling for a very long time and it's soaked in there. So it's become very weakened.
When I'm treating that kind of roof, how do I go about it?
Okay. So the first thing is the whole POP in the room is removed. Then we tackle from up there on the roof. Usually, you see, it starts giving you these problems like, it's you have this boiling thing in there. It starts like this to let you know that the quantity of water that has been absorbed in the roof is too much. And this is what causes problems in the homes.
Everything must go?
Everything must go. We scale everything from there, do a clean sandpaper, and then you'd have to, go in with some soapy water and dampen cloth, get everything off there, leave it to dry. Then the waterproof is applied. We just don't do the interior, we do the exterior first to stop the ones from in there. Then we come to the interior and then we tackle these problems also.
For people wondering, are your services free? If I need you and your expert advice in my homes after buying easy waterproof paint, what would that cost me?
It doesn't cost much. But the only thing is I usually tell people that because everyone wants us to come and do it for them the perfect way, that is when you have to wait a little. But if you have a painter of your own choice, you can bring them with us. We'll teach them the correct way to do it for you so that if the house is so much deteriorated, it will be, attended to faster than you having to wait for our painters to do it for you. It comes at, a very nice cost. And once you're buying from us, when you buy from 5 buckets going, there's a nice discount we give you.
How about delivery?
Deliveries, we do deliveries nationwide. It doesn't matter where you are. Once you realize that we don't have an outlet there, and then you call the numbers on your screen on the 0243-707696. You just let us know, or maybe I'm in Chichere and there's no one who sells easy waterproof there. We find a transport that comes there to deliver it for you. And then we give all the instructions that comes with it so that it'll be applied the correct way.
Thank you so much. And I'm always looking forward to this conversation because we're always learning each time you come to the studio. We'll be seeing you soon, won't we? Yes, because you're now part of us. So thank you so much. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. And that's how we wrap up The Pulse. It's been quite a day. I appreciate your time and your company. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Safo. Good afternoon.